Okay, episode 3 of the Clint and Shanna road trip. Clint's actually surprising me today. I have no idea where we're going, so it'll be a surprise to all of us, so stay tuned.
I was gonna give her a book and tell her show her where we were at, but she decided she was gonna film instead.
Yeah.
So now she's gonna film instead of finding out
I'm
where we're
gonna
going.
find out. No, I'll find out where we're going. See you in a minute. Alright guys, I am at my surprise destination. I have no idea where I'm at. There's a road there and some railroad tracks.
Got somebody coming along the road here.
Yeah, so we're kind of off the freeway and I really don't know.
We're southwest of Levan, and we're not quite to Mills. That's Mills, America for a lot of you. We're in one of my top 5 favorite places in all of Juab County, and the place is Juab. And you might be like, Juab? But it's actually the Juab town, where the Juab town was in Juab County. For those of you that don't know, back in the late 1800s, this was a rail spur, and where the concrete that we're standing on right here in this frame that you can see here was actually the section home that the section foreman lived in out here for the Union Pacific Railroad. And so just right to the right side of Shanna, right here, was the girls' bedroom, and the family that lived here raised 8 children, and that was the girls' bedroom. Right here on this side behind me was the boys' bedroom. Right here where I'm at now was the living room. Kitchen was over there, and let's see, there was a door right there where that other piece of cement is, but it was never used. And there was another door that was used right here, which was the main door. And just south of it was the master bedroom where the parents lived. Notice, I didn't say that there was a bathroom in it. They actually used an outhouse, which was usually over there, or wherever they could find a place for it. And the water, there's a rail right here, if you can see it, that comes in. The water would come in on that rail, and it would just park just a little bit south of where the home is, and that's how the family would get their water. Is they would go out there and they would pump the water, or they would get the water out of the water truck, out of the water car that came in on the rail. The family had a chicken coop that sit back over here, just on the other side where that fence is. And like I said, they raised their chickens. One small story about the mother that lived here at that time, the mother of the family. There was one day the family couldn't find her. The kids couldn't find her where she was at. They'd looked for her, and finally they had almost given up hope. They couldn't figure out where she'd gone. They could very weakly hear her say, "Help me, help me." And she was in the chicken coop. The roof of the chicken coop had caved in on her and had broken her leg. And they figured that she'd spent almost all day out there with a broken leg trying to get out and couldn't get out. But what she was doing was trying to hold up as much of the roof as she could before it caved, before the rest of it caved in on her. And the kids, the two youngest kids that lived here were two small girls. And when the waters would come up, the bus drivers to take them to school would actually have to come in and lift them and carry them across the water to get them on the bus. Back down over here, as we were driving in, Shanna said that she had noticed there was Juab Lake down there, and that was over there, and it was on both sides of the highway, of the road back then. And the family used to ice skate during the winter on Juab Lake, and so the waters would rise up from there. And in these fields directly east of us, the Hoyt and Virginia Moss family raised buffalo. And so buffalo ran in the fields there.
Roamed in Juab County.
Roamed in Juab County. It wasn't a very big herd. It was maybe about 5 or 6, I believe, at a time is what they had. But that's where their herd of buffalo lived. And then the Mosses lived up in this area here, where a lot of those buildings are now that you can see up there. That's where the Mosses lived at the time. A lot of you might know Virginia. She just passed away a couple years ago. She was right around 100 years old when she passed, and her son Bill's living in her house now. The family that lived here, the reason I know so much, was my mom's family, Beverly Williams Painter, but it was the Lloyd and Della Williams family lived here, and they raised their 10. Well, they had 10 kids, 8 survived, so they raised their 8 kids here in this home. And you know, it's kind of fun to hear stories and to share stories about the history of your hometown. But to me, it's also kind of fun to have to make it a little bit more personal. I had this picture. I grabbed it today and had Livingston Photography. They printed it up for me in less than an hour, really quick. And this is just kind of what the house looked like back in the 1900s. The railroad tracks, you know, this is kind of flipped, I believe, because the railroad tracks are right here on the other side. But you can see there's just the door here. And one little fact, you can see how close the railroad tracks are when you look at them. Dorothy Sperry, my Aunt Dorothy, said that when she was a kid, the railroad tracks were 3 big steps from the front door. And when the trains would come by, because it was so close to the house, they literally had to grab anything that would break to make certain that it didn't fall on the floor and break, because it rattled so much. You know, that we had that 5.7, was it 5.7 earthquake last week up in Salt Lake? It's probably about what it felt like every time the train came by.
Wow,
growing up here.
Clint, that's crazy.
So, but we, you know, I've talked a lot about how, like, kind of, you know, it's just small. You know, by the time that my mother grew up here, it was small. It was mostly a ghost town, but it hadn't always been a ghost town. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take the camera and the phone, and I'm going to have Shanna talk a little bit about it. I did give her a book so she could study up on it.
Yeah, so I'm new to Juab, this town, and so in 1876, John Whitback secured from the government a quarter section of land 6 miles west of Levan. He named it Juab and moved the mail station here so that it was easier to get the mail. There was a brick schoolhouse, 2 hotels, a store, and a saloon here in the early days. And then most of the area residents followed the railroad on to Milford, and so it became a ghost town after that. Is that correct?
Yep, pretty much.
Yeah, so kind of interesting.
It's kind of interesting to hear the story of something out here, you know.
Yeah, I never, in all honesty, knew, and that's what the importance of this book is, and so that's why we're really pushing that the kids get out and learn about their heritage and their roots and what made Juab County great. So we're gonna do this, you guys. We're gonna teach you. Okay.
So Shanna, I just want to tell you one more story before we move on. So this is about my grandma Williams, and my grandma Williams is always near and dear to me. I would go to her house after school when I was little, and one of her things is she was always good at baking bread, and I always knew that, you know, the day that she baked bread, I could smell it about a block and a half away when I would walk to her house. But I wasn't the only one that loved Grandma's bread. There was the hobos that rode the tracks. They knew that if you could make it to Juab, you'd always get a good meal. Grandma would put them to work, make them chop wood, collect the eggs, whatever it was. She would always make them do a little bit of work. But they knew that when they got done with the work, that there would always be a sandwich or with, you know, homemade bread, and a bottle of Della's homemade peaches, or fresh canned peaches, and so they knew where to go to for food.
Well, and that's a good example of Juab County hospitality. So I think we can all learn a lesson from that. That's what makes Juab great, is our hospitality and welcoming in those that are less fortunate.
I think so too. Thank you. Hey again, everyone. We're on stop number 2 tonight on our road trip, or yeah, road trip. Is that what we're calling it?
I don't know what we call it. Clint and Shanna show. I don't know.
Yeah, road trip. And we've consulted a few of the Levan locals here to make certain we're in the right spot. We think we're in the right area for our next segment. We are on Powell Lane right now, and what we're going to talk about is either right about the area we're at here in Powell Lane, or maybe a little bit farther south, closer to Juab Lake. And we're going to go ahead and I'm going to flip around and talk to Shanna, and she's going to tell you a little bit more about the area and why we've stopped here.
Okay, in 1854, Brigham Young and Chief Wakara met here in this valley and ended the Walker War. The Walker War was a war that lasted for nearly a year, and it was over. The settlers had got along pretty good for years, for about 6 years, and then Chief Wakara decided that he didn't like the way that he felt like the Indian traditions of the past were being ruined by the newcomers into this valley. So there were skirmishes clear from Gunnison Valley clear up to the Springville area. There's information that they even had a battle on Mount Nebo, so it's kind of fun that they actually ended that war here in this valley. So
just so you know, right over your right shoulder is Mount Nebo.
Oh. I had never been, so I decided to take him to a place that he's never been. He's camped up here in Levan Canyon a lot in his life, and he's never seen this waterfall. So it's kind of fun to kind of go off the beaten path and explore places you've never been before. You never know what you may find.
Look how really pretty it is up here.
It is.
You see the ponds there.
And there was fish jumping.
Till Shanna scared them away.
Well, they wouldn't have to worry because Clint's fishing lure doesn't work.
At least you weren't trying to skip rocks across again.
I can skip a rock.
To the bottom.
That's my goal. Before our segment's over, I'm going to show Clint how to skip a rock.
Or that she can skip a rock.
I can.
So, look just how pretty this is here. Just watching the creek flow down. And Shanna, I got a little story to tell you about fishing. Speaking of fishing in this creek here. So it was shortly after my brother Mike returned home from his mission. Don't kill me for this story, Mike, but it's funny. You know it is. And we were a little bit higher up the canyon, and we were fishing along through here. We kept casting out, and we got to one spot where the bank was a little bit higher behind us, sort of open like this. And as we were moving along, Mike was about 4 or 5 feet ahead of me, and all of a sudden we heard the very distinct sound of a snake rattle. I kid you not. True story, factual, no exaggeration.
Mm-hmm.
Michael Painter literally jumps into the air, up taller than me, pivots in midair, runs over top of me, and comes down on this side of me, and is out of there. Because that's his biggest fear, snakes.
Mine too, Clint.
So,
Mine Clint.
It was true story. I have never seen anyone do that before in my life. I'll probably never see it again. Factual.
Yeah.
I wish we would have had a camera to see it.
I admit I'm scared of snakes, but I just have to tell you, Clint's afraid of getting his shoes muddy. He wouldn't cross that log. He was afraid.
I crossed it.
You did. Levan Canyon a little ways. It's got several different designated sites, a restroom, and picnic tables. So I didn't know this existed till just last year. So kind of a beautiful camp spot if you're wanting to get out away from the city. And
I tell you, in the summer when it's all green, it's really beautiful up here.
look, Clint, I found chickens up Chicken Creek.
I don't think that's right.
Chicken Cricks? What are they then?
I think that last one there's a turkey.
I think that's you. Okay, I just had to show you my favorite part of Levan Canyon. Clint's up there hugging the road because he's scared of this area, but it is one of my very favorite. Look at that little waterfall coming down through the rocks with the big pine trees. Just look at the beauty. And I called Clint a chicken earlier, or a turkey, but maybe he's really a chicken. Hopefully he edits that out. I'm just joking. Isn't this beautiful? It's one of Clint's favorite spots too. Okay guys, it looks like we've hit the end of the road. There's still quite a bit of snowpack up here, so not very safe to go up any further. But we wanted to take you up to the Teeter Rock, which has some Indian petroglyphs that we were excited to kind of show you a little bit. And then also the Reddick Cave is up here, which was a hangout for Butch Cassidy and Matt Warner. Matt Warner was a resident of Juab County, lived and grew up in Levan, and joined the Wild Bunch. And so legend has it at Reddick Cabin that they may have some, or cave, I said cabin, but cave, that there may be some hidden treasure. So it's kind of fun. I love the mystique and mystery of finding hidden treasure. Clint? It's really killing me not going up any further. You know that, right?
I know that because, you know, you'd probably be searching the whole area over, even though I'm certain it's probably already been well searched.
Yeah, but kind of a fun area to come up in the spring and the summer. And
when there's less snow.
When there's less snow. But it is really beautiful. Even with the snow, it's so beautiful outside, but not worth taking the chance of Commissioner Painter getting his truck stuck up here. In my cute red shoes.
Yeah, she's not prepared for it.
Not prepared. So, but yeah, so I don't know, Clint, any more about our road trip? Any more that you know about this area? Or?
You know, not that I have any more hidden knowledge about the area, no.
Yeah, but it's very beautiful. So please take advantage of in the spring coming up here. Bring your side-by-sides, four-wheelers, horses, trucks. And take a Sunday drive. It's beautiful.
Just have a good time.
Yep.
Our last stop tonight is on the ridge, and as many of you know, it's the land between Nephi and Levan. Where we're stopping here tonight is just to talk a little bit about David Broadhead. So David Broadhead was the first person to grow wheat on this land here without irrigation. And he used to run around, and I don't know if it was running, but he used to go around and claim that he could grow wheat without irrigating it. And a lot of people thought he had lost his mind. And the law enforcement even threw him in jail because they thought he was lying. So they threw him in jail for perjury. And eventually he was able to prove to him that you can grow the wheat without irrigation based upon mostly, waterfall or rainfall. And so he was vindicated at the end. But his farm here on the ridge was actually called Perjury Farm because of the perjury that they accused him of.